A pleasure to meet all at last. And, well, this is it. This is what I intend to talk about for the last ever piece of video games that are totally awesome. So, in terms of my pick, I'll be talking a bit about Spirit of the North. Yeah, because by this point in time, it should be made clear, crystal clear, that I'll not only be talking about one game, but there was in fact a recent release of a sequel that had come around. Yeah, Spirit of the North, parts 1 and 2. I unfortunately won't have much to say about the second game, but being that I had played on the first game, it's probably more appropriate that I do get to talk about it while I can. Maybe once I get a hold of the second game and play through it, the next time I do video games that are totally awesome, I'll for sure include that title. For now though, let's just go ahead and stick to the matter at hand, shall we? Spirit of the North, which was put together by the likes of Merge Games, does in fact take place in the unique, breathtaking landscapes of Iceland, where you control a red fox whom has somehow gained spiritual powers. Upon discovering a supposed skeleton, it goes on a certain quest of self-discovery. Not only do we see some spiritual power that dwells within him, but he also happens to have the knack for exploration. And seemingly, because I've talked about the fact that there were other games like this, 3 years later there was the game Endling: Extinction is Forever, which was a rather depressing piece. And I will say, having played through that, it still is a gut-wrenching, heartbreaking experience, to say the least. The kind of mistreatment of some animals and the horrific likes of certain plights, from natural disasters to man-made catastrophes, it sure made Endling quite the title to experience. For Spirit of the North though, I played this a while before Endling even came out, and more so in the fact that this game came out 3 years prior to Endling. In November of 2019 for the PS4, and for the PS5, it took around June of 2021 for an enhanced edition to come around. And I will say that regardless of which version of the game we got, the enhanced edition obviously will have the graphical and performance capabilities. But when I first played this a few years ago, I will say that getting to play as a fox is a bit of a different experience, because I had already had experience with Strays. And while Stray was a bit of a different feel in and of itself, this game took place in a certain segment of the deep future, where machines were now in some sort of slums, as we played a domestic cat, whom becomes the unlikely hero in that instance. But with Spirit of the North, this is more about a journey of self-discovery. There are some things that we get to do here. Exploration, some platform jumping, some puzzle solving, and even a few Easter eggs here and there. Secrets to collect, and some unique sights and sounds worth seeing or hearing. You probably could get what you paid for by all accounts. But I wouldn't entirely say that this is something for everybody. Endling sure did propose a huge level of moral lessons and truly hit the marks in my mind and body with a number of different horrifying examples of cruel mistreatment towards animals, such as the beautiful red fox. But with Spirit of the North, getting to play as one fox and going through about 8 chapters worth of storyline, I will say that running around as a red fox with all sorts of paths to take and all sorts of things to do, this kind of third-person exploration doesn't exactly chalk up to a lot of different potentials. But being that I had played this game before, and I also am gonna get through the enhanced edition, I will say that the main appeal that I have is just the fact that we're actually playing as an animal. Like I've said, there are other games like this, Not just with Spirit of the North or Endling where you play as foxes, or Stray where you play as a cat, but there is in fact Lost Ember, which came out the same year as Spirit of the North in 2019, where you play as a wolf, out to find some sort of civilizational balance. Or there's of course 2016's Abzu, which is an underwater game where you play as a diver. And that of course was made possible by 505. But in all seriousness, with all these different games revolving around the controlling of an actual domestic or wild animal, we sure have had a lot of experiences out there. Oh, but we could even talk about the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad Life of Black Tiger, which was a mobile game at first, but then they put it onto the PS4 in 2017. And in 2019, well, we had AVGN and Gilbert Gottfried. Can you believe that? But yeah, they made their own review of Life of Black Tiger on the PS4. What an ordeal that was. But anyways though, I will commend Spirit of the North for the many different ups and downs that it has given to me, and the somewhat monotonous feel to it with little music and little things to bump up the excitement ratio. It does unfortunately come as a somewhat big disadvantage to this game. While you're mostly just exploring around at things, you don't exactly have a health bar or fall damage or certain things. That's what technically can make this game feel like a somewhat simple challenge. And well, that's mostly because it is. The simplicity of it is mostly just the fact that you're getting from point A to point B. Nobody's trying to kill you. Nothing is trying to stop you. There's no obstacles or natural disasters going up around, minus the fact that there are some puzzle solving that can be done to progress through different parts of a level. Some things are, unfortunately, kind of cryptic. I've had to look up a few walkthroughs here and there just to find out how to get through certain spots. But I will say, to get through the entire game must be one heck of a journey for one fox to travel. And even more so, just knowing the fact that this is Iceland, of course there's going to be a lot of sights and sounds worth taking in. But all in all, whether we're playing the original or the enhanced edition of Spirit of the North, it still is something that had actually gotten potential and good reception from critics and gamers alike. So much so that they came out with a sequel recently. Yeah. Like I said, I will get a hold of Spirit of the North Part 2 and play it, so that way I could have the chance to showcase my overall take on that game, just as I did with this one. For my final scoring of Spirit of the North Part 1, we'll just simply leave it at a good 7.5 out of 10.1. While not great for what it does, it still executed the unique visual aspects of spiritualism, the unique landscape of Iceland, a red fox darting through the lands on a quest to find himself, basically. While self-discovery is a unique concept for a game, this one unfortunately does not quite hit every single mark. But yet, there's still a lot of pros to help keep you busy. So with that in mind, this is pretty much it. With less than 70 episodes worth of this, Video Games That Are Totally Awesome has to come to an end at some point, because after all, I did mention that I will have another season of films I should have talked about years ago. And I'll probably start working on that in a little while, so to speak. But at the same time, I got other things to work on as well. So, while I put all this stuff together, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side. And of course, a second season of Video Games That Are Totally Awesome might come around if this season gets a good amount of reception and praise.